This is a miniature I painted. So it's just like anyone else. I learned how to paint miniatures before I learned how to paint a canvas. Like, that's pretty much like 80% of all the children in the United States, they're probably going to learn how to paint a nerdy little miniature before they're going to learn how to paint on canvas with oils and stuff. It depends, your mileage may vary, but for me, like, I learned how to do miniatures like first. So this is an example. I made this for a friend who was also an artist in Portland, Oregon, and I sent this for his birthday / campaign like party or whatnot. So, and this is a group of miniatures that I play with Tavis, and like we play with these like at Cafe 28 in Manhattan. So I bring these, and like it gives me like a cute little joy when I like show these people, and someone picks it. It's like, oh, this looks painted very well. It's like, oh yeah, thank you. So these are actually little pieces that are used in play. So this is one of my paintings that I do. This is a lot of these artwork has a lot to do with the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, and a lot of the architecture is from actual shopping malls and these, or other type of digitally rendered things. So it's kind of the sense of space is what I credit to it, but there's also many other factors in my own professional practice that like keep me interested and have absolutely nothing to do with the innocent fun that is like Dungeons and Dragons. So I kind of am okay with keeping them separate and keeping them in different directions. They're all, the photographic bits are all found images off Google Images if you type something up. And I'm getting the digital rendering with dealing with video games and constructed environments. I've been getting more with procedurally generated plant life, which you can get like computer programs for, and you can like control declination, phototropism, and all these other factors that will like spin out like a certain flower, and you can like randomize the seed and get like 12 different poppies, all like slightly different, and then you can start moving them around on your computer and like kind of propagating a space and whatnot. So it is kind of related to like the procedural generation, very similar to a lot of aspects for Dungeons and Dragons, but it's kind of a separate, more like hard-coded type of way of thinking about them. This is this is Piranesi. This is my Italian's really lousy. It's Il Carcere. It's for a time for dungeons or caverns or lousy, but it's one of the big examples. These like images, black and white images of dungeons, like fantastic dungeons. Piranesi was famous for doing the ruins of Rome, doing etchings and prints of the ruins of Rome and whatnot. And like, they're great, fantastic, romantic things that people get prints for, and like they'd be encouraged to go on a grand tour of Europe. And so this is an example of one of his fantastic, totally made up from his own mind about what these things would look like. And so they'd be progressively more and more dark and romantic, and these things are kind of lifted wholesale with many like RPG illustrations nowadays. That's another example. Yeah, I figured out the secret to Piranesi. Like if you want to make something epic in a grand landscape sense, all you have to do is shrink all figures to 1/2 the scale, then everything looks good. Because I've been to all the real, like some of the real locations, because there's a really nice book from Dover, Ruins of Rome, and you look through it and they show figures, and like many other landscape people, all they do is they shrink the figure to exactly 1/2 the size and have the full scale like mountains or ruins in the background. It makes things look twice as epic as it actually is. So you can notice those figures in there. This is an illustration from Arthur Rackham from the Golden Age illustration, like early 1900s, and it's an English illustrator. And so an example of like the influence of like really Golden Age illustration upon the whole concept of fantasy art, because he illustrated the Ring Cycle and various other like Alice in Wonderland and other things like that. This is Owen Runquist, I believe.
I believe. I mix up people, but I believe so. Yes.
I think, and this is another one of the artists within like Tim's show, the Haunted Chateau.
He belongs to everybody.
As another one of his illustrations or paintings. I can't even talk about those guys. I just don't know enough, but I just know this is one piece of his. He's very much into games and like the playing array of games, and this one struck me as really interesting. It's like a giant chessboard with like only knights all continuously, and it has like a really great title that I totally forget about. But it's like the concept of like endlessly galloping horses circling each other on this giant chessboard. So this was kind of like early in our email conversation about like games and like how they relate to stuff.
I think there was a quote related to that where you said something about games being a kind of microcosm or the creation of a tiny universe, and so all of the rules that dictate how the game is played sort of act like laws of physics or something. And when you're interacting in the game, you have to sort of obey the universe in that game. So he's playing with those rules and creating absurd.
And I'm done. Tim Hutchins is our last presenter.
Okay. After my good-natured chortles at other people's expense, let's see if I can manage this. Where do I even start?
It's in that folder there. No, Tab's thumb.
Tab's thumb.
Yeah. And then it's Hutchins.
No, that's it. All right.
Oh,
So let's do it this way. You. So not you. Not in PC mode. God, I'm doing it. Okay. They're laughing at me, not with me. All right. So, do you recognize that?
Oh yeah, totally met him.
Did you? Awesome.
He's a game science guy. He gives the best speeches ever about his dice.
Lou Zoki.
Yes.
See, I gotta
Sit down.
I gotta sit down first. Lou Zoki. So first, I'm gonna tell you folks, I began playing at the age of 7. I was given my first Dungeons & Dragons Moldavane Basic box set for Easter by my parents. Alright? Who apparently didn't get the whole D&D is Satan thing, right? It's not the best parents in the world. In the past couple of years, let's see, 2 years ago, I finished, my character survived the Sanity to Despair, the Mountains of Madness campaign by Audica Casium. Everybody knows who that is. That's quite an accomplishment. I've run a campaign set in North Africa dealing with religious tensions and slavery in the 17th, 18th century. These games can be really useful things, right? I take gaming really seriously. I can talk about the differences between 3rd and 4th edition and get angry and puffed up. I don't even play those Dungeons and Dragons games. I just have opinions about things. You can talk to me about art, and I'll agree with you, but as soon as you start talking about gaming, I get angry. I start flaring my eye spots and trying to puff up largely. It's pathetic. I mean, yeah. So okay, so there we go. Just a little bit of game credit here. And that's the shelf directly behind the computer where I work. I honestly can say that I have not played a single game on that shelf, the upper shelf, because I really get a lot out of older games, out of what people call heartbreakers, which are like D&D imitation games. They say, hey look, I play D&D, but instead of a D20, I'll use a D12. It's not like things that are so not different than D&D. But then I'm also interested, what I play nowadays are indie games, which is that horrible indie word. You can see Ron Edwards' Elves there, just kind of, again, looking for a little street cred with people. I play Burning Wheel a lot, that's the kind of stuff I do. I see people in here I play Inspectors with, which is fun. This is artwork I own. This is a painting. I didn't make it, I bought it. It's the live action Conan the Barbarian Spectacular. That's the painting for the flyer. Again, laying out a little cred here. The shipping mail envelopes from the original Dungeon Hobby Shop in Lake Geneva. The cover art, the original fucking drawing from one of the Istarf books, I think number 5, the 2nd edition. Right? Can you believe this stuff still exists? Something from 1983? I mean, clearly he's worse for the wear with coffee stains and whatnot. Alright, now on to stuff I do, which I do as an artist, but it's really about being a guy who plays games.